Broad Street Review podcast is an extension of Broad Street Review, Philly's home for arts, culture, and conversation, an online arts and culture journal covering the greater Philadelphia area. I'm your host, Darnelle Radford. Today on the podcast, Artistic Director John Jarboe, she, her, stops by to talk about the Bearded Ladies Cabaret production of BEARDS on Ice. This event laces up for a fracking good time. Here is my interview with John Jarboe for BEARDS on Ice. And welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Darnelle Radford, and today I am in the virtual studio with John Jarboe. John is the artistic director of Bearded Ladies Cabaret, and John is on location at a skating rink, or the ice skating rink. John, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here again. I'm at Tarkin Rink in Northeast Philly, which is the first rink that the Bearded Ladies are performing at this weekend, March 15th, 16th.
Awesome. So I can imagine, just like everyone else, as soon as you hear BEARDS on Ice, oh, I've got to check this out.
That is what we are hoping.
Tell me where the idea of doing a show on ice came from.
I skated in hockey for 11 years. My dear friend David Devan, who is the former head of Opera Philadelphia and a longtime collaborator of mine, was a nationally competitive figure skater in Canada. So we were always, every year we'd hang out and go on an ice skating date. And we always joked around about what it would be like to do a Bearded Ladies show on ice. And then when I thought about it, because I love spectacle, I love skating, I love the silliness of it, but I also need to have a reason to do something. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, what is the perfect pairing for an ice show? Well, maybe an ice show about climate justice, because often these rinks that we're on are not, they're better than they used to be, but historically ice rinks have been really environmentally unsafe. And this idea that the ice in our planet is melting. So how interesting to do an ice show about ice melting. And we first did a version of it in 2023. This is a much updated version, but the version we did in 2023 was outdoors with Independence Blue Cross rink at the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation, and the rink melted because it was so hot in late February, early March in Philly. It was like 70 degrees and the rink melted, and we have to cancel our opening night. So wow. I'm excited to be indoors this time, where we have more control over the temperature, and also excited because we have some amazing new performers joining us. Rob Tucker is playing a glacier named Diane Slowly. That's my favorite new part of the show.
Yes. So I think it's fun. Listeners, you'll have to go to the website to see the list of characters, and all of them give you a chuckle. Are all the characters, are they drag names, or are they just characters in the show?
I mean, some of them have drag names, some of them, I don't know, the woolly mammoth who has been resurrected thanks to the power of Jurassic Park-like science. Her name is just Marge. The polar bear's name is Fred. The bees are named Pollinator and Honeytrap, which do sound like drag queen names. And the glacier is a drag glacier named Miss Diane Slowly. I'm playing Miss Homo Sapiens, so that people can be like, look at that homo go, look at her skate, look at that homo. Or for the family version of the show, so there's like a PG-13 version at night, and then at 4:30 which is at 8, and then the 4:30 version that we're calling Family Meltdown, and that just is a little bit more language appropriate. It's an all ages thing, and I play Ms. Humanity in that version.
Aw, they're both great names.
They're good.
I love that you had the foresight to do a family friendly adjustment. And it's not to say that what you're offering isn't for all, but to just be aware and sensitive of young voices.
Oh my gosh.
And families in general, because I know anybody who works in the school system definitely knows what a challenge it is to present art to young minds. We're the producers, purveyors, collaborators of the art. So we feel like we can share, our art in its form with young minds. But there are a lot of voices who are in play when it comes to, young minds and their exposure to arts and culture.
Yeah, the Beards do a lot of family programming, actually. We do a big collaboration with the libraries called Check It Out with Il Dutz and Sam Rise, a piece about banned books. We do a lot of family snacks, we call them, which are kind of like drag story hours that are with the volume turned up. Like there's always live music and sing-along and dance. And so we really feel strongly about our family audiences. And honestly, I just learned so much from working with really young folks. I think it's very important that we also protect the right of families to welcome young folks into the reality of the genderful world that we live in, and to welcome young folks to drag shows. I mean, if you like Disney, you like drag, like, let's be honest. So it's really sad to me that there's so much negativity around queer folks and kids. It's just boring. It's also boring. It's old tactics of making us feel disenfranchised.
Absolutely. And even the best villains in Disney films are just flamboyant and very femme.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why children seem to be more like they don't need a moment to adjust, really. You just tell them this is what it is and they go, okay.
The kids are the ones that are changing the language. The kids, I feel like younger generations have more access to the galaxy, the constellation, as Sam Rise, one of our collaborators, would say, the constellation of gender. I feel like, and honestly, I learned about my gender through talking to young folks who were like, I think you're different. So it's really... I know that we're like, we're doing these shows for families, but it's really a conversation, and we learn as much from the young folks as they do from us. Sam Rise just did a whole little podcast thing with a bunch of young folks at Tarkin Rink, where I'm at right now, where they were asking the young kids about what's climate change, what's nature, and some of them were just like so insightful and had such succinct, beautiful things to say about taking care of the world. So the kids are all right. I don't know if the adults are all right now, but the kids are all right.
Yeah. I feel like what's great about the kids is that the kids don't have a lot of backstory to go back on. Like we all have these back in my day kind of moments, and you kind of cling to them as things change. And I don't know if that was a generational thing, because I do feel like the younger people in our communities, they are more open to change and evolution. And it feels like, I guess, the mindset of older generations is that everything's moving too quickly because of how long it took for progress to happen in their times. And so I just think it's such an interesting thing that we, even though we have this younger generation that we are really focusing our attention on because they're growing with us as we're evolving, but we still have to factor in and try to understand the struggle that is like pulling older generations into the future.
Yeah, we need to do it together. It needs to be intergenerational, and that can be hard. And it's weird. I feel like the elders in my life are super progressive, and the youth in my life are super progressive, and it's the adults, the people my age or a little bit older, that I'm like, what's going on? I mean, and also it's like age is a part of it, but some of the youth in my life, I think are elders. Like they know more than I do. I'm following their lead. Yeah, old souls. So it's rich and complex, just like everything else.
Yeah. So let's talk about process. Like, how do you begin to craft this piece for the ice? Like, and how deep do you go in the conversation of climate change and climate justice? Because it does seem like a lot of this is very surface and common sense, in terms you don't have to have a deep understanding of the climate crisis to understand that there's a crisis. So just talk to me about how, piecing this together, because it is scripted, right?
It's scripted. You may not feel it, but no, it's scripted. It's a whole musical, basically. It's a whole parody musical. Lots of cover songs or parody versions of songs. Like, instead of "I'm telling you I'm not going," it's "I'm telling you I'm not melting." Very silly stuff. And I would say that the show itself skates politically on the surface, so to speak, of the issue, because it's actually so complex. I feel like the things that we're trying to get across in the show, is that we can think about this together. There is such a thing as climate hope and joy and possibility. Let's not imagine ourselves out of our future, and let's be practical about what's happening. And the show's like 45 minutes to an hour long. You can have hot chocolate and talk with a climate justice person after the show or before the show or during the show if you want. They're all there tabling. We're working with Physicians for Social Responsibility, which is an amazing organization, and a bunch of other climate justice organizations like Equate is coming. There's just a ton of them. They're tabling at each show. And then our whole purpose is to bring people together in this space to introduce the basic ideas. There are fossil fuels. There is fissile fuel. Like, we need to stop being dependent on fossil fuels. We are addicted to fossil fuels. Fissile fuel is more complicated. But if we go cold turkey, all the power in the rink will literally turn off. That's what happens. And so, but carbon credits are also complicated. So what are we going to do? How are we going to, and what I've learned from working with activists is that we need joy and we need absurdity to be part of this conversation. No one really wants to sit down and have a conversation about the climate. Like, it's just too depressing. So we are trying to say, like, hey, why don't we get together and laugh a little bit? And maybe by being together, because the hard thing about this issue, as opposed to some issues, is that your individual actions don't really matter. They don't matter. I could recycle or not recycle in my personal life, and it's not going to make that big of a difference. But if we work together, we have to work together. We have to make huge collective actions, which unfortunately this country is not very good at doing right now, or ever, maybe, I don't know.
There's too many interests.
But we can't even start thinking about doing collective action until we start thinking collectively, until we get into a room together. So, the Beards the Beards have done really political work before. We claim that we repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, for better or for worse, with our show Back in the Army, which was our first show about being gay in the military. But I do really hope that we perform this ice drag show and we actually save the climate. That would be amazing. If we could do that under an hour, that'd be great. But I think it's just actually about creating some special, unique space where we can all be together. The last time we did this, we had a security guard at Independence Blue Cross be like, okay, I know about this fossil fuel, but tell me about fissile fuel. And I was like, this is great. If you're asking those questions, this is great. That's what matters to us.
Attention.
Yeah. If you have your first conversation about the climate, or like, why is that glacier melting, with your kid, that's amazing. That's a success to us. If you just get to laugh at how absurd and awful it is that this is one of the biggest periods of deregulation that we've experienced around the climate because of the Trump administration, great. Maybe that will buoy you. Maybe that will help you sign up for something later or seek some kind of group to do collective action in. Maybe. Who knows? But we can't, I'm not going to sit at home just being depressed alone looking at my phone. I'm going to be depressed with you in a room watching ice skating.
And we're not going to be depressed. We're going to be full of joy.
We will be full of joy. We'll be full of joy and great climate ambivalence.
I totally resonate with we need to bring joy to these conversations, because it's the same thing that like satire and satirical news do as well. it's like, let's poke fun at how ridiculous this is. And then I'm going to pepper in some tidbits of like logic, you know? And I think it's a great way for people to say, oh, okay, you know, I wasn't following the news cycle all day, but now you point out how ridiculous this is. Yeah, like what can be done? What should we be doing? And it does make for a good way forward. I do appreciate that. Yeah, it's so interesting. Like right now, as this piece is making its way to the ice rink, you know, there's news that the EPA administrator announced huge rollbacks of environmental regulations.
It's the biggest rollback yet. Like it's absolutely wild. Like we are prioritizing now over tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We are addicts. We're addicted to oil. We're addicted to fossil fuels. I learned a lot talking to my friend Emily Bate, who's an amazing artist in the city, and she talks about us like we're addicts. We're addicted to oil, and we don't. I've got some skaters showing up right now, coming in. There's coal and oil walking by right now. But we're addicted to fossil fuels, and we don't know how to break the habit. And we have this like little window right now. We have a very small, ever closing window where if we like just started working together as a community radically, we could maybe stave off some of these epic consequences of our addiction.
Yeah.
It really is an addiction.
There's a conversation that, you know, I always hear a lot of people talk about, you know, recycling is pointless because we're just individual households, and it's like a much bigger problem. And in that argument, they're basically saying like corporations are the big polluters, like the companies are the bigger polluters, and they have to make a big move in what they do, how they do business. Like, you know, I don't have plastic containers unless you make plastic containers, and then I buy plastic containers, but I would buy another container if it was the option. And, you know, everything is plastic, which is made by oil. And so, you know, it's not just, okay, no more gas guzzlers, because we would still have oil.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is part of this, like, we need to make a collective decision. We need to be working in groups. I guess corporations are people now in the United States, so they have been for a while. So maybe those individuals could make a big difference if they change behavior. Yeah. I do think that however, like actually practically or impractical recycling is, I think practicing the muscle of taking care of the world around you is a good thing. Like the ritual of care. I think about, I think it's in, I may be wrong, I think it's in South Korea where you spend a lot of time like separating out every different kind of recycling into its various categories. In some countries, there's like specific times where there's only a truck that picks up this amount. There's a truck that arrives at this time for you to deliver this, and people build their lives around rituals of recycling and taking care of the world that they live in. So I don't think it's a bad thing to recycle or do those things, but I also think we need to be practical that it's not the only thing. It's not going to be the thing that staves off massive migrations and that are going to happen because of the poor way that we've been treating the planet.
Yeah, I know in New York they charge a container tax, and because they encourage you to recycle it properly and get that tax back. And I don't know how long I didn't know how long they'd been doing this, but I had seen it on a receipt the other day, and I was just like, oh, wait a minute. Wow.
Yeah. They do that in Michigan too. You got to put those cans in the thing. You take them to the grocery store, 10 cents per can.
Didn't realize.
Oh my gosh, it's great. However, if we live in a capitalist society, I guess we've got to incentivize everything with money. However we do it, we got to do it. We got to do it.
Yeah. Is there a particular bit of the climate crisis or the climate justice that resonates more with you, or is it something that you think about more?
I'm mostly interested in this idea of how do we find hope in what seems to be impossible situations? How do we find hope and joy when it seems like the deck is stacked against us? I feel that way in terms of climate. I feel that way in terms of the way people are treating trans people and queer people in this country. I am in the business of joyous resistance, of like fiercely used spectacle, wonder, awe, like humor. I want to take care of myself, my community with that. And so for me, the big question about like, can we find climate hope? Do we have the tools within the system to fight this system? Probably not. So what can art do? It can imagine new systems. It can imagine new worlds where we can actually talk to a polar bear, a bee named pollinator, a potato, a heritage potato, and say like, what should we do? You know.
So what's the air like when the team gets together and there's elements of this like throughout this process, like what has the conversation been like amongst the team?
It's actually been quite joyful and silly. I feel like that's what we need right now. So yeah, there's two people dressed as bees. There's a heritage potato. There's a woolly mammoth played by Sam Rise, who also plays non-binary parental guardian nature. Like there's a big polar bear that dances and a penguin. Like it is ridiculous. And we are laughing our asses off. And it's got that kind of laughter that's like really strong and sometimes could go easily into crying and then back to laughter again. That's the way it feels. And that's been really healing for us. And I hope that people coming to the show with their families, I hope that people can feel equally buoyed by the show as we are by the process of making it.
Yeah. Can you talk about the crew and if there's any particular like additions to production because you're in ice rink?
Yeah, we're indoors this time. So we've actually, instead of doing a live band like we did last time, we have all of these amazing tracks that we were recorded at Gradwall Studio in New Jersey. They're incredible. And Heath Allen's still our music director, Jimmy Coleman and Josh Matches, our main bearded band. We've also got a rad guitar player on that track. So the sound is really great. There's live singing. And we have an amazing live singer in Rob Tucker who plays the Glacier, who's like singing Chaka Khan, singing I'm telling you I'm not going, like Celine Dion. So there's more songs. The sound is great. There's a snack bar at Tarkin Rink. There's tables with hot chocolate on them. So and there's cold ice that is not melting. So that's a plus.
So the piece is an hour long, right?
Yep.
But is there anything else around the piece because you're at these ice rinks? What sort of encouragement to hang around is there?
Yeah, you can after the show you can do free skating. So there's free skates for you thanks to Park and Rec. You can come put on the skates, skate with some animals, with some endangered animals.
Wow.
You can bedazzle yourself with little stickers with little ice jewels. If you want, before the show, you can get hot chocolate, talk to an environmentalist, take pictures with all the performers after the show. As long as you talk to an environmentalist, you can take a free picture.
Cool.
So it's all that stuff. And it's all pay what you decide. No one turned away for lack of funds. So
yeah,
it's actually like a great, really affordable outing for you and your family.
Cool. And there's food on site.
There is food on site at Tarkin. Not at Laura Sims, but there's hot chocolate on site all the time.
Good to know. I'm going to tell you that I have never been on a pair of ice skates.
Okay, well, now's your chance.
However, I have been on roller skates and roller blades. So,
oh, cool.
I just assume the roller blades are fairly close.
Roller blades are very close. Roller skates are a little different, but roller blades are great.
It's just been every moment. Like I've been to Dilworth Park many times. I've walked past. What's that one in South Philly off of Washington?
Is that the river rink, the Independence Blue Cross rink?
Oh, think
Or Rizzo rink, maybe.
it's Rizzo. It might be
Rizzo,
Rizzo.
yeah.
But, I've crossed them, and I was thinking about it. I was like, there's at least 9 rinks in the city that are
a lot of
easily
rinks.
accessible. And, I just, for some reason, I just felt like, I'll watch everyone else enjoy, but when I come to the show, I think it'll be my first time on a pair of ice skates.
Great. So what you do is you see the show, go grab your skates, and then come on. And if you need help, there's these little blue walker things that you can use to push around, or you can talk to me or someone else, and we're happy to give you a little ice skating lesson.
Cool. I'm likely going to pull my partner down, have him keep me afloat.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, this is all exciting. How can our listeners join in on the fun?
Yeah. So we've got shows the 15th and 16th. We got 4 shows this weekend, the 15th and 16th. 4:30 on both days is our family meltdown show, and 8 o'clock is the more PG-13 version of the show. There's a little ice cream truck coming by, so you can look forward to that too.
They've been aggressively selling ice cream this whole interview.
They are. What better way to enjoy your ice rink time than with a big ice cream in your hand? And then on the 22nd and 23rd, on the 22nd, we have a show at Laura Sims at 8 p.m. And on the 23rd, we have a 4:30 and an 8 o'clock show at Laura Sims. So it's pay what you decide. No one turned away for lack of funds. You can find tickets at beardedladiescabaret.com or at Bearded Ladies Cabaret on Instagram.
All right. Absolutely. Well, I know you're super busy at getting ready, because as we are recording this on the 14th, so we're getting ready for Tarkin Ice Rink. So I am going to let you go, but thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much
talk
for
to
your
us
time.
about Beards on Ice. And everyone who's listening, this is going out minutes after it has been recorded. So
Yay! Thank you so much.
Listen. And get out to one of the rinks to support Bearded Ladies Cabaret and Beards on Ice. John Jarboe, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. It's always a pleasure, and I can't believe we're still alive and kicking after all these years.
Oh my gosh, it's been a long time, and we look so much younger. It's amazing.
Yes, that's how I feel. This isn't gray; it's makeup.
Good to see you, friend.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye. It was truly a pleasure to join John Jarboe, who was on location but still in the virtual studio, to talk about Beards on Ice, Bearded Ladies Cabaret presentation. The creativity of our arts community to find clever and engaging ways to engage in a conversation that is elevated and about the greater good and whatnot is always a joy. So if you enjoyed this interview, this conversation, definitely make your way out to one of the rings, Tarkin Ice Ring and Laura Sims Skate House. The links are in the show notes. The information's in the show notes. beardedladiescabaret.com for more information. And I hope you enjoyed that shorter conversation with John Jarboe, and I hope to see you at Beards on Ice. Thank you to our guest, John Jarboe, for joining us on today's podcast. The Broad Street Review podcast is an Emory production. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, visit us online at em3ry.com. Get involved with Broad Street Review. Head on over to our website at www.broadstreetreview.com and click Get Involved at the top. While you're there, help keep us running and click Donate to find out how. There you can also find our social media links. Thank you for your part in keeping the conversation going.